Alrighty, so where I'd like to start is at the very, very beginning. It seems like a logical place to start, and that's with the shrimp movement. And a lot of folks are going to roll their eyes and say, dude, seriously, shrimp movement is so basic. And yet, to me, I think what defines the great grapplers that I've had the good fortune to wrestle with is the clarity, the precision in their movement. So if we're talking about movement efficiency and clean movement, there to me is no better place to start than the shrimp movement. If you have a clean, precise, powerful, strong shrimp, everything is going to move from there. But if your shrimp movement isn't clean, if it's fuzzy or muddled or blurry, then everything else is going to be in turn fuzzy and blurry and muddled. So even though it sounds simple, I'm a big proponent of being brilliant at the basics, and I think there's nothing more basic than the shrimp movement. So I'd like to teach that. Coaches, you may want to take some tips, great if you do, and people that are learning for the first time, I hope this helps. The way I teach the shrimp movement is pretty simple. I start with talking about opposites, even though you don't have to shrimp always with opposites. I think it's easier to start with an opposite orientation and then go into a same side. So I go, if you plant your right foot, you're going to go to your left shoulder, or vice versa. If you're going to plant your left foot, you're going to go to your right shoulder. I also talk about this concept of, if this is our kneecap, I want you to consider this your shoulder cap. Anatomically, it doesn't work, but from an athletic standpoint in jiu-jitsu, I think it works really well. On your kneecap, you can spin on your knee very comfortably. Yet most people, when they think of their shoulder, they think the back of their shoulder, like their scapula. So when they shrimp like this, and they stay very flat. And the key about shrimping is getting an edge, and that's a huge concept that I'll talk about later. But getting edge is profound, and if we can teach people how to get edge before we even bring up the concept of what edge is, we're going to be way ahead of the game as coaches. So I don't want to get just on the side of my shoulder, I want to get to my deltoid. So what I'm going to do is, if I plant my right foot, I'm going to come all the way to the front of my left shoulder. And in doing that, my orientation is now sideways. Here, my belly button is to the sky. Here, my belly button is to the side. So I'm on my right foot, I'm on my left deltoid, I'm looking at the camera, but I'd really be tilted over. Now, when I have the opposites and I'm on my side, I'm on my shoulder cap, my hip should be off the floor. And that's a big deal. A lot of people, when they shrimp, they drag across the floor, and the floor is going to create friction. We talk about shrimping this way, and the floor is your adversary because you're having to move the planet Earth. That's hard. And when I'm sitting sideways, now I'm moving parallel to the floor with no friction, and now I have fluid hip movement. So I need to go opposites, turn to the side onto my shoulder cap. I need to have my hip off the floor. Now the shrimping is the retraction of my bottom hip. So I'm going to drive with my top leg as I relax my bottom leg and pull my hip back. My butt should go past my head, and then I straighten back up. I get rigid. Okay, so one more time, that shrimp movement so that we get the basics. I'm doing opposite. Then I'm turning to my side, going all the way to my shoulder cap. That's number 2. Number 3, my hip should be off the floor. Number 4, I'm shooting my hip back past my head. And then number 5, I'm straightening back up. Okay? One last time, with no sound. Great. So anyway, I may do more later, but I just wanted to start with that. Hope you enjoy it, and have a good night. Cheers.